Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have yet another very exciting Star Wars Outlaws news update video as the great week for this game honestly continues, as we got some even more pretty insane gameplay details revealed earlier this week in an interview, and today we're going to break it all down. But first, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. And if you would like to take this conversation beyond YouTube, make sure to head over to Twitter and follow us at Lunar Squadron and jump into our Discord. The link to that will be down below in the description. Now, with all of that out of the way, Andreas, you ready to break down some GTA-like gameplay features for Star Wars Outlaws?
Oh yeah, let's do this, guys. Today's new gameplay and open world details come to us courtesy of videogames.sportsillustrated.com. Nick, never would have guessed that Sports Illustrated has a video games coverage, but here we are, and this article is titled Star Wars Outlaws Interview, quote, "You can become co-owner of a moisture farm on Tatooine." And Nick, we've heard a lot of people tossing around this moisture farm thing, so I think it's really cool just to go to the source here, and we will ultimately end up with that quote where they talk about the whole moisture farm owning thing, and I can't wait to get into that, but we have a few new details to talk about before we get there, right?
Yes, we definitely do. This interview honestly provided a lot of great new information and confirmation of some stuff that we've heard about this game. And this interview is, of course, with the game's associate world director, Chloe Hammond, and the associate art director, I'm sorry if I get your name wrong, it's either Martha Jonkers or Yonkers. I'm sorry, bad with names. But they sat down with these two devs from Star Wars Outlaws. And the first place I want to jump into is this question where they ask, the thing I'm really curious about is how big the open world bits are. So, how many open world areas are there that you can explore on the bike, and how big are they? And Chloe gives a very great answer to this question, and it kind of provides some insight into the philosophy about what they were going for when it comes to the open world. And she says, it's a very specific question. I don't have the number on the top of my head, but the idea when we started to work on this project was really to craft different environments. So we wanted to offer diversity, whether it was in terms of biomes, in terms of locations, in terms of wildlife, inhabitants, different cities, different settlements. So this is why we landed on Akiva, which is a humid jungle environment, Toshara, which is our own planet that we crafted with Lucasfilm Games. It's a moon, actually. Of course, everyone knows Tatooine. I'm not going to describe it. Canto Bight, and the frozen planet Kijimi. She continues by saying, so we landed on this after having done some research, discussed with Lucasfilm Games as well, and we also wanted to provide players, of course, a good mix between urban environments, so cities you need. We wanted to provide players opportunities with urban environments, so sneaking, stealth, stealing some stuff, going to cantinas, conversations, all of this, and also, of course, the open world. And she finishes answering this question by adding, so we needed wide landscapes, vistas, landmarks, things you can discover by yourself and explore. So every planet is going to have different topography. For example, Toshara is going to be very interesting because you're going to have sandstone mounds as well as amberine, which is the exotic element we added to the savannah, and you can perform jumps, stunts. You're going to have the thrill of driving on this planet. So I think all in all, we crafted very different environments that all provide something different for players to enjoy. Now, Andreas, this is a very long answer, but within it, there's a lot of exciting stuff to unpack. Of course, we already know about these locations, we know about these planets and all of that sorts of stuff, but just seeing their thought process going into this game and how they wanted to provide something for everybody. Every type of player should hopefully find something in this game, in the Star Wars universe, that they will enjoy. They wanted to add all of these different biomes and topography, and they wanted to add city for the people who enjoy urban environments, and they wanted to add more rural stuff for people who enjoy that sorts of stuff. Very exciting stuff to see that they're trying to take a very comprehensive approach when it comes to their open world.
Yeah, and I think the real important thing that I am grasping from this quote here is the variety that I hope this will bring to the gameplay. She mentions how they wanted to offer diversity in terms of biomes, but then also in terms of locations, how she wants to mix up vistas with cities. And this reminds me of a map that I think a lot of open world game developers have to think about at this point. I think it's one of the best open worlds ever created. Like, I think it's like game changing or genre changing, and that is Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, I think the Grand Theft Auto 5 map did a great job of balancing the city in Los Santos, and then you have the more open vista areas up by Mount Chiliad. And I think if you will have played Grand Theft Auto 5, you know exactly what I mean here, how there is that balance of like, you have this urban environment and then you have these more open areas where you can do the off-road races and own your bunker and do all of your shenanigans out in the boonies. But it seems like they're hitting on that variety here, and I know we briefly touched on like the GTA parallels here, and it just directly reminds me of that. And Nick, one thing that I was wondering just from the gameplay here is how many different locations we're going to have in each of these planets. And one thing I want to note is I love this question to begin with, like getting right into the meat of things in this open world. Like, how big is this open world? And I want to take Tatooine, for example. We've seen Mos Eisley, and we've seen the landing options when you pull up to Tatooine, and you have Bestine, you have Wayfair, and then Mos Algo. And it looks like there may also be other locations that you can scroll to. Of course, we don't know if this is an exhaustive list at this point, and I would almost expect there be additional locations. And just from looking at the gameplay, like, how big are these areas? What's going on in the vistas? Like, when you're going through the canyons out in the Judland Waste, like, are you going to be attacked by Tusken Raiders? Like, I would expect them to strike that level of detail, and I want to see that variety in each of these locations, and can't wait to explore all of the different nooks and crannies and micro locations within these planets. I want to see how big they are, want to explore around, like what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of exciting stuff packed in here. And of course, we've seen little bits and pieces here of what the open world and like the map and the landing locations, like you said. But this does remain one of the great mysteries when it comes to this game. And I think we're just going to have to wait until we get our hands on it in August to finally solve said mystery. Now, another mystery that people have, and another question that people has, comes down to customization. And thankfully, this interview actually shifts to that, with the next question being, one of the highlights of the demo for me was exiting that third mission and seeing shops and a blacksmith and a clothing shop and all of that. What are some of the ways you can customize your character's look? And Marth answers this question by saying she does have her own style. So she has a way of dressing, but there will be different gear sets. Actually, you'll have a top part, the holster, and a bottom part. And then you could mix and match. So it's nice to see that we will be able to mix these different customization options. They won't just be like set outfits. And the quote continues by saying, and these gear sets will also have an impact on your statistics. We also have transmog, which means that if you want to look a certain way, but you want to have the stats of that set, you can actually pick your look and then have the gameplay benefits of a certain gear set. So there's actually a lot of freedom in that, but Kay does have her own style. So, you know, she always pops up the collar on her jacket. So she will do that on the gear sets as well. And then this interview pushes the question just a little further by adding, there's kind of an 80s vibe, like Return of the Jedi-esque, with the sneakers and the curly hair. Can you change your hairstyle in the game? We've had a lot of people actually ask in the comments below and kind of wish that they can change the hairstyle. And they respond to this question by saying, I think we're not going to spoil too much about the extent of customization, but for sure, you will have clothing and you will have that kind of customization. So Andreas, a lot of cool stuff about the customization, how it's going to work in this game. It does sound like there's going to be a lot of freedom. Now, it's not going to be total and complete freedom like we see in some RPGs. It does look like it's going to be locked to, 3 set things that you can mix and match. You can't customize every single thing. Say, Cyberpunk, if you guys have played that game, you can customize literally everything. And when it comes to this game, it looks like we might be able to customize our hair. This is kind of a non-answer, but kind of like a wink answer, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a non-answer, but it does kind of answer the question.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point on that front, just with the different layers of customization. And also, I think there is an even deeper layer here that spikes my curiosity, and that's how the different gear sets impact your statistics. And they say that different gear sets are going to impact your stats in this game. That, like, what I glean from that is if you slap on a different holster or a different top or a different bottom, that it's going to have different stats associated with it. Nick, what I'm wondering is, how deep does that rabbit hole go? Like, what stats are going to be implicated? Is it things like your aim, your reload speed? Like, how RPG is this game? Because it seems like this game has all of these RPG light elements to it. There are those like micro choices that you're going to be making. We've heard people who have tested this game talk about situations where NPCs came up to them and like asked them, hey, I'm really down on my luck with gambling right now and I've lost a lot of credits. Can you loan me some money? And then you can choose like loan him a little bit of money or loan him a lot of money. And then it'll have just a different gameplay implication based on what you select. I'm wondering how RPG is this game? Or is this game going to be like an accessible gateway drug to deeper RPGs? Because after all, this is a Star Wars game. It's going to address to a wider audience, and so I don't know how detailed they want to go. And if you're looking at the Ubisoft formula, we've seen within Assassin's Creed even, there have been games that go deeper and deeper onto the RPG side of Assassin's Creed, and then games like Assassin's Creed Mirage, which are just like totally bare bones. And so I wonder where this game is going to fall on that spectrum, and data points like this just make me more curious about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting potential for these outfits to impact the statistics depending on what those statistics will be in the game. Like you said, like if luck, for example, is one of those statistics that can be changed, and like gambling and all of that kind of stuff, and how well things fall your way when it comes to Sabacc, like could that be impacted by putting that Lando cosmetic on? Or if there's a Han Solo cosmetic, you put that on, could it impact stuff like that? Like a lot of cool possibilities just given the lore and context of Star Wars. Very excited to see where they take that component of this game. Now, this interview finishes with perhaps the most exciting component of this entire article, and that is where they ask, can you both give me one highlight of the game? Like, what's your favorite element of the game? And I want to focus in on Chloe's answer here because they say, first off, I must say that honestly, as a world director, it was such a joy to be able to work in so many different environments and not have just one biome to create, because even within biomes, we managed to create some environmental progression, and I think players will be able to see that. But I think what I like the most in all of the tiny micro stories that Kay and Nix will be able to discover across the world when they meet new characters. We added a new layer of narrative that really tells a lot about the world and about the inhabitants, the culture, and all of the local things. And there is something that I really like. I think about Tatooine. I mean, for Tatooine, we had the chance to create many different things, but you can become co-owner of a moisture farm if you help someone that has gambled and lost his moisture farm. You can finally have a reward. So if you have that dream, it is possible. And they push the envelope again by saying, I love that. Can you earn money from that as well? Like passive income? And Chloe says, yeah, that's the tiny detail that we wanted to integrate to give it a bit of a flavor. That is just one example. Andreas, a lot of great things coming out of this answer from Chloe. I love the whole part about the biomes and how they wanted to explore the cultures of these locations and the inhabitants and the local things and really get into the lore of these locations. But then we also get confirmation of this like GTA style gameplay mechanic where we can now own a moisture farm business and generate passive income. And then they kind of tease us with this last part where they say, and that's just one example. So does that mean there's going to be a multitude of different businesses or different ways to own passive income? I don't think this game is going to go anywhere near as deep as, say, GTA Online, GTA 5. Like, people should not set those expectations, but knowing that gameplay mechanics like this are going to be in the game opens the door for a lot of really fun possibilities within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, Nick, this gets me so excited because, you know, like, we've played so many hours of GTA Online, and you know firsthand, I am addicted to growing my criminal enterprise, or enterprises, in GTA Online. I love developing these passive income strategies. How many times have we run things like the Cayo Perico heist? Like, we love that whole criminal enterprise and growing your wealth in GTA Online. I would love a Star Wars parallel to that. And it seems like they're just exploring. And of course, we have to get our hands on the game to feel how deep the rabbit hole goes. She said that, you know, this is just one example of this, and I'm hoping there are more. And of course, Nick, I think it's so important to temper our expectations here. I don't think there are going to be like several different heists. We know that this game is going to build up to like one narrative heist, but Nick, I think this is a great pathway for Star Wars Outlaws if this turns into like a franchise. I think there's so much room to grow for the Star Wars Outlaws brand as a whole, and we can talk about all of those possibilities on what's next for Outlaws. Like, will this be a one-time thing, or is it going to grow into a franchise and maybe grow into like an online thing? I think it has that room to grow, and this just gets me so excited about that potential future.
Yeah, definitely. This is incredibly exciting. For months now, people have talked about this game being the Star Wars version of GTA, or Star Wars is GTA, and I don't think any of us are reasonably expecting or should reasonably expect this game to be anywhere near as deep as GTA. I mean, nobody is Rockstar but Rockstar. There's a reason they are so successful and can do the things they can do. But to hear confirmation that there will be GTA-like gameplay mechanics in this game is so incredibly exciting. Plus, on top of all of the gameplay we've seen this week, I don't know how you can't just stop and be just a little bit excited about this game if you truly do love Star Wars. I'm just not seeing anything for me to currently be negative about this game, and I honestly don't understand some of the discourse around this game, but that is a completely different topic for another day. Guys, let us know your thoughts down below in the comments on all of this exciting new information about the philosophy behind the open world, some of the gameplay features that will be in the open world, some of the information we learned about customization and the different ways you will be able to take part in that, and of course, this information about GTA-like gameplay features being in Star Wars Outlaws. A lot of incredibly exciting stuff was revealed in this interview. Definitely let us know all of your thoughts down below, and of course, if you want to have a conversation with us beyond just the YouTube comments, make sure to jump over into our Discord server. Again, the link to join that will be in the description. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.